This is an old record which I just love. Poke Salad Annie, Tony Joe White. Just talking like this about
sound too much. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about this so that you understand what I'm talking about.
Nobody talks like him.
Down there we have a plant that grows out in the woods and the fields. Looks something like a turnip green. Everybody calls it poke salad.
Poke salad.
Poke salad. Used to know a girl lived down there and she'd go out in the evenings and pick her a mess of it, carry it home and cook it for supper.
Nobody talks like
that. That's about all they had to eat. They did all right. Down in Louisiana, where the alligators grow so mean, there lived a girl that I swear to the world made the alligators look tame. Poke salad Annie, poke salad Annie. Everybody said it was a shame, 'cause her mama was working on a chain gang. A mean, vicious woman. Every day for supper time, she'd go down by the truck patch and pick her mess of poke salad and carry it home in a tote sack. Poke salad Annie, the gators got your granny. Chomp, chomp, chomp. And everybody said it was a shame, 'cause her mama was working on a chain gang. A wretched, spiteful, straight razor tote moment. Lord, I must take my mess up. Her daddy was lazy and no count, claimed he had a bad back. All her brothers were fit for was stealing watermelons out of my truck patch. Poke salad Annie, the gators got your granny. Everybody said it was a shame, 'cause her mama was working on a chain gang. Of it. Good girl. Got to have me. Ate her up.
That's Tony Joe White, Poke Salad Annie. That's from a CD collection called Tony Joe White, and I just dropped it on the floor. It's called Tony Joe White Collecting 3 CDs, worth 5 or 6 quid in anybody's money. Good morning, Gerald Michael Anderson here. The number to ring on this Monday morning is 08459 555 678. A lot of sadness, consternation in the public houses of our noble land at the failure of Trapattoni's men to bring home the bacon. But we shall live again. Not we. Everyone shall live again on Thursday night. All is not lost. Thursday looms. 08459 555 678. There are people who would not support that team, but I think it's a good idea to do so, because after all, we're all in it together, as David Cameron once said. And don't we live on the one island? 08459 555 678. I hear men's gears beginning to turn. 08459 555 678. Email address is jerry.anderson@bbc.co.uk. Text messaging service is 81771. So a dilemma, perhaps. Dear Gerry, last week the Republic of Ireland voted yes to yet another European referendum, reinforcing that we are all supposed to be good Europeans, and in that spirit I have a dilemma myself. Tonight, England play France in the football, and I'm wondering who to cheer for. This is a dilemma shared by some people. As a good European, do I shout, "Come on the mainland," or alternatively, "Come on you cheese-eating surrender monkeys"? Being a good European is harder than you think. That's from a mature student who's on the horns of a dilemma. Mr. Coyle is not here today, but a man anticipates his presence. He'll be here tomorrow morning, so he's sent me his script. So I'll just run over it for the benefit of he who is not here. 10:34. Hello. Yes, hello. Can I just say I haven't missed work one single iota? You know the way people say it's great to be back? Well, it's not. I wish I was still on my holidays. 10:37. You're looking different, Kim Osabi. There's something different about you. You look hungover. Well, I can't quite put my finger on it, but Janet agrees with me. Something has happened while I was away. Maybe it's the hair. Something is definitely up. Have you had a hair transplant? Janet, what do you reckon? 10:37. I haven't watched TV in over 9 days. Not a thing. Did you see the Jubilee? 10:44. I was on the golf course every day, every single day. Janet, 10:55. It's the hairline. It's moved. How did that work? How did you do that? Where's his hair? Where's it gone?
A Caddo guy and a Crockett girl worked hard at staying stoned as best they could. Coming up at night, they were high as a Christmas moon. Coming down was the fear in the four walls of their room.
Now, see what I did there? Look what I did. I played a record that was near the end. I'm sorry about that. Hold on a second. I'll put it on again. These things happen sometimes. When Ken is here, that's the start of it. That's the best part.
Two tight-eyed, brain-fried misfits who lived in a shack in the back of the Bodark Wood. A Caddo guy and a Crockett girl worked hard at staying stoned as best they could. Coming up at night, they were high as a Christmas moon. Coming down was the fear in the four walls of their room. They were two hardcore junkies, and they stayed drunker than a bunch of monkeys. There were barrels of laughter with no time left to lose. They had nightmares and needles with the Stones and the Beatles, and they kept all the straight-laced businessmen confused. And the days went by with a red bandana blues. Well, Ivy was grown o'er their heavenly home, and their only companions were the chickens and the dove. When the law had 'em made, they got laid in the shade. On their face was the grace from the good Lord up above. And making love in the woods was peaceful most of the time, but revolution was the last thing on their mind. They were talk foul-mouthed and lazy, and they ate biscuits and gravy, and they wore blue bell-bottom jeans and platform shoes. They slapped at the insects while they laughed at the rednecks. They kept all the straight-laced businessmen confused. And the days went by with a red bandana blues, all right. They wore black suspenders on all-day benders when the world was changing and the kids were running wild. They got gray-haired, sat in rocking chairs, built a great big cradle for a newborn flower child. And they never grew up and they never moved to town, but they kind of faded away when the Bodarks got cut down. They had bad luck and good times, and cold beer and pork rinds, and Sunday funnies were the only worthy news. They had nightmares and needles with the Stones and the Beatles, kept all the straight-laced businessmen confused. Yeah, they were low down and worthless, but they were nice on the surface, and they got by just fine on whatever they could use. And in trouble they got deeper when they grew their crops of reefer, because business and pleasure were two words they got confused. And the days went by with a red bandana blues. Hey.
Great record. That's Adam Carroll. That's a song called Red Bandana Blues. Now, tonight on BBC Northern Ireland at 10:35, which to anyone else is 25 minutes to 11, there's a very interesting documentary called Life Patrol on the banks of the Foyle. We've all heard about the Foyle Bridge and about the bridges and about this, the one side of the river, the other side of the river. But there's a great story there. Now, a gentleman called Paddy Wilson is on the line. He's the longest serving and founding member of Foyle Search and Rescue. Paddy is on the line. Good morning, Paddy.
Good morning, Gerry.
Paddy, people may not realise that we've got a peculiar problem up here. Would you like to explain in kind of lay terms what it is?
Well, basically we were set up in 1993 as a response to there's a lot of number of deaths in the River Foyle here.
That's right. It's a scary thing because we've got three bridges now here in the Foyle. We've got the Foyle Bridge, the old bridge, of course, the New Year Bridge, Foyle Bridge, and then we've got the Peace Bridge. But
yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a high incidence of people actually trying to end their lives.
Well, unfortunately, that is the case, Gerry. The reality of it in this city. In fact, just we were called out last night twice to the Peace Bridge.
Really?
With incidents, and then on Saturday night there we had 3 incidents. 2 of them was on the Peace Bridge, one was on Craigavon Bridge.
These are people who are actually trying to jump off the bridge.
Yeah, these are people who are feeling distressed and feel that they can't go on any longer.
It seems to be worse here than almost anywhere else. I mean, you don't hear about that so much.
Well, there is a big increase in it. I know there's actually research going to get carried out shortly into that Pacific region, looking at why in this city we do have so many fatalities on the river. And because the situation is there, your organisation has formed because of the necessity. And tell me a wee bit about when did you start? Well, we lost a friend to the river in 1992. Yeah. And a few of us then set up Foyle Search and Rescue, and it was officially formed in 1993. You actually basically patrol the river? We started off, we patrolled the river, just with no boat, with no having 10p in our pockets, basically. They phone for an ambulance or the police to assist us. And this was just a response, basically a private response. This wasn't government funded or anything. No money or nothing. All the volunteers are none of us paid. They do the work that we do. We have an administrator here and a caretaker, and that's only paid employees that we actually have, and that's providing we get funding for that. But everybody else is all. It's a unique organisation, isn't it? Sorry, Jay? It's a unique organisation. Well, it's one of the. It's the only one actually that we're aware of. Is it mainly young people, Paddy, who try and jump in the river, basically? Actually, there's we would come across various age groups from 18 to 79. Really? So. Well, is alcohol a factor? Alcohol would be a big factor, Jerry. Yeah. Really? Yeah. I mean, can you imagine? Because it's kind of easy, in a way, to kind of to jump in, isn't it? It's easy. Well, and if you're terribly drunk there and anything disturbing you. Well, there has been accidental deaths too, Jerry, in the river as well. Yeah. Where, as you're saying, people with a few drinks maybe thought they could swim it, or maybe acting a whack have fallen into as well. Yeah. But overall, I mean, for 2011, we had 141 incidents. 141. 141. Now, 14. We actually rescued 20 people from the river last year. Well, you saved 20 lives, yeah. And we've taken 25. An emergency response team, which is when the pages go, we act like a lifeboat, and we would actually be called out between the hours of on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Our teams patrol Craigavon Bridge right down as far as the New Bridge. Well, it's a weekend thing more than anything else, which Thursday, indicates. Friday, and Saturday. Well, when we started up in '92, people could afford to drink on a Thursday night and a Friday night, and that's why we were out. So that indicates that maybe perhaps alcohol is a bigger factor than anybody else would think of. It's basically at the weekends. Alcohol does play a major factor in it. So tell me about this documentary. Did people basically follow you around? Well, we had Alley-Cats, which are doing it's like a fly-in-the-wall documentary. That's an independent TV production company, yeah? Yeah. And it's for the BBC, yeah. So they joined up with on just at the end of November. We're doing the Christmas period with us, and they put more of a positive slant on the fact that there is a lot of good positive work being done within the suicide aspect. Mm-hmm. And so they followed us around, responded to the pager call-outs, went out on duty nights, basically get a sort of an overview of what we're actually about. Mm. And at the time, sure the people in the city would know Emma Moore was missing at that time.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And so the family members are on speaking as well. And so it gives an overview of the type of work that we do. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah, that was a case of you're talking about the case of a young man who disappeared his body wasn't recovered for a long time. Yeah, and it'll be interesting just to get an idea of what life is like for yourself and for the guys who work. Do you need any more funding at all? Are you well supported, or is that one of your problems?
Gerry, we rely on the people of the city keeping us going.
Yeah.
The charity itself, it takes between 100 and 150,000 pound a year to run.
Yeah. Yeah.
None of as I say, the volunteers get paid. We have running costs, we have fuel. When we're out doing a search, for instance, it takes about £45 an hour. And
you've got your own boats and that kind of thing.
We have our 3 boats, and we just acquired 2 new jet skis, which is funded from the Public Health Agency.
Yeah, I suppose speed would be of the essence if you've got someone spotted.
The jet skis itself will actually be used for searches because there's a lot of low-lying areas that we can't get on with the bigger boats, and it's going to be used primarily for that. Plus, for like a Halloween for covering and the likes of that. We were out there at the torch race covering anywhere where there's sort of a lot of people about. We can use them.
Well, it's a sad thing, and hopefully this documentary tonight will open people's eyes a wee bit, maybe perhaps attract a little more funding so that you can be able to do that job that you do better than you do. And I know you do really well, but there's always room for a little more, isn't there?
Well, you're our patron saint, Gerry, as we know.
Well, I haven't been called a patron saint for nearly 2 days.
You've been called worse things.
Well, the documentary is on tonight at 25 minutes to 11 on BBC One. It's called Life Patrol on the Banks of the Foyle, and I guarantee you'll get your eyes open. Paddy, thank you very much indeed for joining me, and you're doing great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerry.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. There's another son of Gerry Stoke Londonderry, Paul Casey. Fantastic record. It's called Big, Big. Big world, and it's a big record.
It's a big world, where big shots play. Inside of nightmares, they don't go away. Stops for no one, can be yours. From the sun in the desert to the waves on the shore. So much trying to get out.
That's Paul Casey. That's a song called Big World. Right, we're talking about things athletic, talking about the Olympics, talking about the World Cup. A gentleman writes to me and he said, a few years ago you visited Ballymunna Museum during the History of the World series to see the Derry Keegan stone. Anyone who hasn't seen that should go and have a look at that. This email isn't about that, but I thought it would be a good way to remind you about something that perhaps people have forgotten about. I'm aware of your interest in marathon running, and I hope he's not being sarcastic, and I thought you'd like this story. 2012 is the centenary of the amazing achievement of a man called Kennedy MacArthur, who won gold in the Olympic marathon in the 1912 Stockholm Games 100 years ago. MacArthur was born in Dervok and emigrated 20 years old to South Africa. In 1912, he was selected by South Africa to run at the Olympics. He finished first, and his South African colleague, Chris Gitsum, won silver. In other words, first and second. No other country has achieved that in the marathon ever. Maybe perhaps Kenya. No, they haven't. Legend tells us that the two athletes fell out on the way because Gitsum stopped for a drink. And MacArthur ignored an agreement to stay together and ran on to finish alone. MacArthur, the man from Northern Ireland, was an unlikely long-distance runner. He was 6'3", and he weighed 167 pounds, and he smoked a pipe. He never forgot his birthplace, and he came back to Dervok on many occasions and even lived there briefly in the 1930s. He died in South Africa in 1960. So centenary celebrations include an exhibition of MacArthur material brought from South Africa, school workshops, community reenactments of the return of MacArthur to Ballymoney, and there's a website, www.marathonmac2012.com. That's www, if you're interested in that, marathonmac2012.com. What a great story. There's a lady on the line. Kate, good morning, Kate.
Good morning, how are you today?
I am coincidentally talking about running, and you're going to talk to me about the very same thing.
I am. I want to tell you about the Real Relay, Gerry, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
We are currently recruiting runners from around Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland to take part in a relay which started 2 weeks ago, following the route of the Olympic torch, but using runners to actually run every step of the way, 24 hours a day.
Oh, my God, yeah. And from where to where? Well, where is this now?
Well, at the moment, we have someone, I think we've got your namesake, actually, Gerry Kingston, who is running from Irvinstown to Enniskillen.
Yes.
And he'll be handing our baton over to Declan Karen in Korea. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, very shortly. Yeah. But now, when I came on the line to you, we had a gap that was going to be the very next one at 12:45 from Korea to Clogher. Yeah. But I'm looking at my computer screen now, and a marvellous man called Robbie Bryson has just filled that gap. So could I appeal to any of your friends now and your listeners with running colleagues, contacts, a little bit further south from you now? We've got gaps coming up in the early hours of tomorrow morning down. We're heading out to Northern Ireland. It'll be down in the Dundalk area then. Yeah,
but I would imagine there'd be people who'd be interested in doing that just to say, just to be a part of it. And tell me this, how far do they have to run?
Well, it's up to them. We've broken the relay up into stages of 10 miles, which may sound like an awful lot if you're not into doing running normally. Yeah. But we encourage families, groups to come together and perhaps just run 2 miles each and do a mini relay in a certain slot in a stage so that you cover those 10 miles in much smaller segments. It's a fantastic thing to be part of.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing, the reason I ask that is because I was caught in a terrible situation one time during the New York Marathon, because I run very slowly. You see, if I run at all, I'm running at a snail's pace. And if you probably know about the New York Marathon, you start at the end of the Verrazano Bridge and you run across the whole bridge. And the bridge is about 1.5 miles long. And there are 50 or 60,000 people running. So when everybody starts a marathon, they're all quite fit and they run very quickly. Right? So you start at the end of this bridge and you've got 30,000 people in front of you and 20,000 people behind you. And you say to yourself, I'll just jog along quite slowly, and then suddenly you realise that they're all running 3 times as fast as you want to run, but you can't stop because they trample you. And at the end of the bridge, I nearly had to be worked with an oxygen tent. So you have to pick your own pace, don't you? Well, listen, if people want to run, if people want to take part in this, how do they contact you?
Well, look, they can call us today. My number is 01548 853524. I can put that on your website, if I may, later, or give it to your producers.
Yes, I think you've got it already, yeah?
Yeah, or they can come online. The website is endurancelife.com/real relay.
Okay. All right, I hope you get plenty of volunteers. Thank you very much, Kate, and well done.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Gentleman writes to me and he said, can you assist me through your programme in re-establishing contact with a person? In February 1964, I took part in an outward bound course at Eskdale in Cumbria. Having relocated a diary I kept during the course at that time, I thought it would be interesting to establish contact with the other 7 members of the Wilson Patrol. To date, I'm in contact with 3 members. In 1964, Ian's... Oh, I'll do this after. Look at the time. I'll remind myself of this later. Okay.
On 92 to 95 FM
and 1341 medium wave.
This is BBC Radio Ulster.
With the BBC News at 11 o'clock, I'm Jenny Lowry. A man charged with murdering Michaela McAreevy told the police that he was not in her hotel room before the alarm was raised. Sandeep Monya, a former floor supervisor at the Legends Hotel in Mauritius, denies involvement in the killing. A 15-year-old boy has been knocked down in Carrickfergus. The accident happened at the junction of Larne Road and Victoria Road, the teenagers being treated in hospital. A 21-year-old man's due in court charged in relation to an armed robbery near Mahara in which a 16-year-old boy was badly beaten. The man was arrested in Belfast on Saturday. Another man, who's 28 and was arrested in England on Friday, remains in police custody. Philip Convery was attacked at his grandmother's house on Tuesday night. He remains in a stable condition. The former Labour Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, has told the Leveson inquiry into press ethics that changes have to be made in the standards of British journalism. He said he was concerned that fact and opinion were often mixed up in newspapers, and he gave examples of when the media claimed he didn't care about sensitive issues.
If you pick up a newspaper and you find that you've failed to bow at the cenotaph, and then out the quarters, that is an example of how he doesn't care about our troops in Afghanistan. First of all, the story wasn't true, and secondly, that's not the conclusion that should have been drawn. You have then a story before that, that you fell asleep at the Festival of Remembrance. You're actually praying and you're bowing your head, and one newspaper decides, and this was the Sun, and I will name it, decides that this is an example of someone falling asleep and dishonouring the troops, and again, you don't care.
Financial markets have reacted positively to the massive European loan to be given to Spain's debt-laden banks. Prices rose in London, Frankfurt and Madrid, echoing increases overnight in Asia. Well, with details of the sport now, Denise Watson's here.
Thanks, Jenny. The Republic of Ireland must now figure out a way to beat Spain and Italy if they hope to progress at Euro 2012. This follows a 3-1 defeat against Croatia last night. England's footballers begin their campaign this afternoon with a match against France at 5 o'clock. Tyrone have beaten Armagh 19 points to 113 in a thrilling Ulster Championship tie. Rory McIlroy had to settle for a share of 7th place at the St Jude Classic in Memphis. A final hole double bogey ended his hopes of a win ahead of his US Open title defence. And Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic will resume their men's French Open final this lunchtime. Weather permitting, Nadal leads by 2-1.
Thanks, Denise. And with the weather, here's Barra Best.
There'll be good spells of bright or sunny weather through the day as the cloud breaks, but as the day progresses we can expect showers to develop. They'll be quite widespread, affecting almost anywhere, and some are likely to be heavy at times too. Temperatures will climb to around 18 degrees in Enniskillen and other parts of Fermanagh. Not quite as mild elsewhere, but temperatures for everyone else won't be too far behind.
BBC News.
BBC Radio Ulster. Travel News.
As mentioned in the news, there's been a serious accident in Carrickfergus. The Larne Road remains closed at its junction with the Victoria Road beside Downshire Railway Station. Then in County Tyrone, part of the A32 Tummery Road in Dromore is closed this week for roadworks. That's between Long Hill Road and Esker Road. Delays of around half an hour can be expected there. And in Castlereagh, the Milltown Road has one lane closed towards Hydebank. That's from 9:30 until 4 p.m. each day this week. Anne Jordan reporting.
Travel News on BBC Radio Ulster.
Hi Gerry, it's Wendy Austin here with news of what's on Talkback today. You have a good weekend?
Yes, a lovely weekend, thanks. What about yourself?
Yeah, very good actually, and the weather was nice too, wasn't it?
I don't know, I was at sleep most of the time. I sometimes withdraw from the world.
Just right too. Today we're asking, should Martin McGuinness meet the Queen? Will he meet her, or will that weekend row over the Stormont Jubilee party come between them?
Yeah.
We're wondering as well, should Gaelic games be offered as an option at more state schools, and should more Catholic schools offer rugby? And we're looking forward to hearing from everyone on that. Bit of a poll in the Belfast Telegraph today talks about that. We'll be discussing it too. And I've been talking to writer Colm Tabine. He's at the Belfast Book Festival tonight, and very neatly tie together the fact that we've spoken to him and another story that we really want to talk about. He says he would love to have been left in a pub when he was 8, or indeed at any age. I'm sure you've heard this. This is what happened to Nancy Cameron. Her mum and dad forgot her.
I think more children should be left in pubs, fend for themselves.
That's what he thought too. Were you ever left behind?
No. I once left my daughter behind in the supermarket.
Yes,
do you know the trolley
too.
have the little thing and you pay in and you walk out, and somebody went, by the way, do you want to bring this child with you? And I went, oh yes, I will.
I heard a woman this morning saying she had a new baby, and she and her husband had their meal, and they got up and paid and left, and they'd left the baby in one of those carry things under the table. So I want us to confess, come clean, call us and talk back, and admit where you've left your children.
Reveal all. All right,
exactly.
Wendy.
All the best, Gerry. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Gentleman contacts me and he said, I rang 3 or 4 times asking for the Oh Superman song by Laurie Anderson, or you call it the Flat Tire song. Can you play it today? That's George in Belfast. George, you're in luck. Just when you thought it was safe to listen to the radio.
Oh Superman, oh John. Oh, Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad. Oh, Superman. Oh, John. Oh, Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad. Hi. I'm not home right now, but if you want to leave a message, just start talking at the sound of the tone. Hello? This is your mother. Are you there? Are you coming home? Hello? Is anybody home? Well, you don't know me, but I know you, and I've got a message to give to you. Here come the plane. So you better get ready, ready to go. You can come as you are, but pay as you go. Pay as you go. And I said, okay, who is this really? And the voice said, this is the hand that takes. This is the hand that takes. This is the hand that takes. Here come the plane. 'cause they're American planes, made in America, smoking or non-smoking. And the voice said, neither snow nor rain, nor blue night shall stay these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed round. Cause when love is gone, there's always justice. And when justice is gone, there's always force. And when force is gone, there's always mom. Hi, mom. So hold me, mom, in your long arms. So hold me, mom, in your long arms. In your automatic car. Your electronic arms. In your arms. So hold me, mama, in your long arms. Your petrochemical arms, your military arms, in your electronic arms.
Oh, what a great record. That's the one that separates the men from the boys. Only in the BBC will you hear that record played from beginning to end. That's from Laurie Anderson. That's called Oh Superman for Massenet. And it's from an album called Big Science. Just want to say thanks. Gentleman texts me. Just want to say thanks for putting me on to Christy Moore. He was on your show a while back and I thought he was brilliant. There's another word there which I won't use. I found a song called Black in Colour, Black is the Colour, and it really moved me. Good to be moved. That song by Paul Casey, what was it called? I didn't get what you called it. It was fantastic. It was called Big World with a big orchestra. And I was talking to the gentleman about the Foyle search and rescue. The gentleman writes to me and he said a similar search and rescue exists. I implied that it was the only one of its kind. It's not, of course. A similar search and rescue exists on the River Boyne. It's manned completely by volunteers. They do great work. They're called the Boyne Fishermen's Rescue Service. They've also come up north to help, up further north, to help in various recovery situations. That's from Gerry and Colette Balnahinch. Thank you for that, Gerry and Colette. And also there's we must not forget the Lough Neagh Rescue, which is formed in 1990. I was basically trying to imply that we've got a particular problem up here, and it's very serious. Nigel is on the line. Good morning, Nigel.
Good morning, Gerry. How are you?
I believe you've spotted a member of staff.
Spotted the one and only Sean Coyle.
Where was he?
And the international airport last.
When was this? I need a time. I need a date.
It was Friday the 1st of June.
Mm-hmm. Now Friday before. Yeah. See, he doesn't tell me. He doesn't tell me where he goes or anything. It's complete guesswork. What was he drunk? Sober?
He was. No, he was living trendy now.
Was he? Yeah. Was he alone or was he alone?
I stalked him for about a good hour anyway.
Well, what did you discover during that hour? What were his behaviour patterns?
Quite trendy, quite expensive clothes on.
They must have belonged to somebody else.
No, he obviously shops down the Lisburn Road. And
excuse me, trendy? Did you say trendy?
He was looking really trendy, yeah.
Trendy when? 1950? 60? No? 90? Was he with other people?
No, he wasn't dead, and he spent some time with us, and he was right and pleasant now.
Oh, did he talk? You actually conversed with him? You conversed with him?
Say it again.
You conversed with him?
We did. I had some socialised with him for a good half an hour anyway. But I tried to get him into the bar, but I think it was too early for him.
No, it wasn't that at all. It's this fear of having to buy a round.
That's crossed my mind too.
Well, he should be back tomorrow if everything is okay. He may be suicidal, though, of course, considering the fact that the Republic of Ireland were beaten last night. He may have given up. Anyway, it's okay. Well, thank you for that spotting. It's important that we know where these people are.
Dead on, Gerry.
Thank you very much indeed.
See you again now.
Okay, bye. Bye. Gentleman writes to me and he said, great shows last week, kid. Mentions Mr. Coyle. With Mr. Coyle off to Rome, slobbering for redemption and kissing the Pope's ring, the sound of silence was blissful. Could not Ken sit in whilst Mr. Coyle is away and regale us with stories about crossed wires and his favourite yellow screwdriver, presented to him by Greg Dyke when he was Greg, for service beyond the call of duty? Yes, Ken has stories of the BBC that he hasn't had the opportunity to tell. Hearing Ken's rich baritone voice on the radio would, I believe, give me the strength to carry on. Ken's not used half enough. How do TV moguls expect me to watch Euro 2012, the Olympic Games, and Big Brother all at the same time, especially during the summer? You just have to make time, I said. Don't you dare stand there talking about television saturation. I come from a generation which remembers the potter's wheel and the test card. My family used to sit and watch the test card for hours. If anyone dared to speak, my father would throw a potted plant, usually a geranium, at them. Up this I will not put, he would say. I've watched TV, said my cat Tommy. I did my bit. 10 series of Desperate Housewives, Roots, the American Civil War, umpteen reruns of Only Fools and Horses. I did my bit. I know all about David Jason falling through the trapdoor, the two Ronnies, fork handles. I know all that. Faulty Towers, Silly Walk. I've done my bit. I've nothing to be ashamed of. One time I was the only person, the last person watching Give My Head Peace. Scaredy cat, I yelled. Afraid of a little football match or a pole vaulter? Get out of my sight, you selective viewer. Don't you dare call me that, said Tommy. I bit the bullet one time. I watched from start to finish Lesser Spotted Ulster. It was a thing about boats. Give that cat a Purple Heart, I cried. I excused Tommy from all summer TV extravaganza. Instead, he will read War and Peace by Senator George Mitchell. A wonderful read.
Hank Williams, he came up from Montgomery with a heart full of hard luck country songs. But Nashville, Tennessee, they didn't understand Jackson with a brand new way of singing, a brand new way of dancing. And even from the waist up, he gave the world a thrill. He ended up on alcohol and pills. Alcohol and pills, it's a crying shame. You think they might have been happy with the glory and the fame. The fame don't take away the pain, it just pays the bills, and you wind up on alcohol and pills. Janis Joplin, she was wild and reckless. Then there was Graham Parsons, then there was Jimi Hendrix. The story just goes on and on, I guess it always will. They ended up on alcohol and pills. Alcohol and pills, it's a crying shame. You think they might have been happy with the glory and the fame. The fame don't take away the pain, it just pays the bill, and you wind up on alcohol and pills. Sometimes somebody won't wake up one day. Sometimes it's a heart attack. Sometimes they won't say. But when they pull poor old Hank Williams out of that Cadillac Coupe de Ville, he ended up on alcohol and pills. Alcohol and pills, it's a crying shame. You think they might have been happy with the glory and the fame. The fame don't
believe it or not, that's a show band called The Freshmen from Ballymena, recorded way back in the 60s, Paul McCartney's song called Yesterday. That's how good they were. And the reason I'm playing that is because, gentleman with me, Paul Charles. Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Morning, Gerry. How you doing?
Good to talk to you.
Likewise.
Now, Paul, people who don't know you, and I'm sure many people do, you're a writer, you're an agent, you're all kinds of things. Lyricist, tell me all the things you are. You are.
Yes, or all the things I'm not.
Well,
I'm an agent in the music business.
Yeah.
I represent quite a few acts. In fact, I represented the Undertones in their original swing in England.
Michael Bradley says you owe him 15 quid.
Well, it's gone down. If I wait another 5 years, it'll be down to nothing. You know. And then as aside from that, I've been writing mostly crime novels for about the last 15 years. And this is a book actually I've been working on a long while. I wanted to get it right. The story wasn't coming out the way I wanted it to come out for ages, so I kind of just kept with it and eventually cracked it about 9 months or so ago.
It's a novel. It's called The Last Dance, and it's about the show band world, 60s and 70s.
Yes, yeah.
And it features a band. Now, I suppose you know that the band is called the Playboys. You do know that there is a band called the Playboys.
Yes, from Donegal.
That's right.
And another one from down in the Midlands.
That's two of them.
Yes, yeah. But that's why, I mean, again, as you well know, that the bands then were known by their name and their location. They're Royal from Waterford, Freshman from Ballymena. Well,
that's right. I mean, because when did you ever hear somebody saying, here's the Who from Dagenham?
Exactly.
And here's the Beatles. Well, you'd say the Beatles from Liverpool.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't say the Move from Birmingham or the Rolling Stones from
the Hollies from Manchester. Yeah.
No, I admire you because I've tried to write a book, a novel on that, and I gave up.
Right.
I give up. So, but you've done it, and I have to confess, I haven't read it all, but I've looked through it, and it's very interesting because you're weaving fiction with fact. I mean, what you're doing, you're saying basically, look at all these bands, and you write about these bands, but you have this band, this fictional band, in the middle of them.
Yes, yeah.
Well, was there any problems connected with that?
Not really, no. I mean, basically, it's essentially a love story, and it's a love story between childhood friends, Martin Dean, who was a lead singer from the Playboys, in fact, and modelled to a certain degree on Billy Brown.
Yes.
And his childhood friend Hannah Hutchinson. And it's really their story, the story of their lives. And instead of having it against the backdrop of lawyers and love or medicals or an office or whatever, I set it against the show band world because it's a world that I knew as an outsider, and it's a world that I loved because it was, as you remember, it was a beautiful, joyous, incredible sound they created. And it was a wonderful world because because it was all these long van journeys that they not only were they entertaining on stage, but they were also entertaining themselves. And so you get this cast of characters, and by having them there and dealing with the politics of it, and the whole premise of the book is that by my account, the Playboys were the number 11th show band in Ireland. And the logic is, well, if they really were that great, how come now they've been written out of the history books? How come nobody knows about them? And I go to explain that as well as explaining the story of Martin and Hannah. Without
giving any more away, and that's basically the premise of the book. But it's very good, and it rings true. I have to congratulate you on that. What I've read of it, and I apologise I haven't read the whole thing, but I will. It rings true, and it sounds as if, because a lot of people try and write this kind of thing, and they don't know what it's like, so they imagine. So it's not genuine. You say to yourself, no, it's not right, because I remember being in vans and stuff. People would say to you, "Oh, it must be great. You'd be travelling all the time. I bet you sing all the way home." And we go, "Oh, no, no, we actually hate each other." But you're originally from Magherafelt?
Yes, indeed, yeah.
And how did you start off as a roadie, didn't you?
Well, I started off with, when I was about 14 years old, a bunch of my mates formed this wee group called the Blues by Five. And the basic requirements to be joining a group in those days was you either could sing, which I couldn't, or had a musical instrument, which I didn't, or your father owned a car and he could cart you to the gigs. So I qualified for none of those. But I wanted to continue to hang out with my mates. So what I did do, I did know 2 doors down from me, this gentleman by the name of Dixie Kerr, who played saxophone in a band called the Breakaways. So I could go and did knock on his door and said, "Is there any chance of a couple of relief spots for my wee band?" And by doing that, I became the manager. and launched myself on the road in the music business.
And then you were involved with a band that did very, very well, called Frupp, F-R-W-P. You were involved with them for a long time, weren't you?
Yes, they did, yeah, for they did 4 records. In fact, the lead guitarist from the Blues by Five, a guy called Vince McCusker, he was also the lead guitarist and the main man in Frupp. And they moved to London. At that point, they were playing progressive music.
Yeah.
So they knew they wouldn't get arrested in the ballrooms. So the idea for that was they were going to go straight to London. At that point, I was kind of writing for a few of the Irish music papers, and because I knew a few venues and club owners and what have you, the logic was I was going to get them a couple of gigs, get some managers down to see them, some record companies. They were going to come over, be discovered, go off to fame and fortune. I was going to continue to do what I was doing. The logic was basically that simple. However, what happened was that they were greeted with a tidal wave of indifference. They didn't get a manager. They didn't get a record label. So by default, I became the manager and the agent and the roadie and the lyricist and the last one to be paid.
If at all.
If at all, yes, indeed.
Just a wee tiny bit. I want to continue that, but just back a wee tiny bit. Wasn't that the great dilemma? Now, I have a dislike of show bands, and a deep-rooted dislike. And that dislike is that I remember being aware at the time that we were actually discouraged from writing our own music. And that was a terrible, terrible thing, because it meant that any talent that was there was squashed. And if you wanted to write your own music, you had to become almost like a kind of a rebel. And people, of course, did that, like Van Morrison and Rory Gallagher and people like that. They were on the outside, and it was a terrible shame because they were actually, nobody cared about them. So you had to be a rebel to actually do anything original. And that's why I don't like show bands. And I hope you don't mind me saying that. But that was the problem I had with them.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you 100%. However, I would put that not down to the show bands, but to the show band managers and the ballroom owners, because they didn't really want to know about their bands being away, taking time off to write songs, or being away in the recording studio. Yeah. They wanted them on the road, every week of the year apart from Lent, filling out the ball. And that's what they were doing. They were filling out the ballrooms, they were playing to a packed audience every night, and they were all making real folding money, So nobody wanted us to dry up. You had somebody like Billy Brown. My logic is Billy Brown in another environment, with his exact same talent, but with different people around him. He'd be as big as Van or Elton John, anybody you want to pick.
He would have been.
The man was a true genius.
And I spent a lot of time with him. I played in a band with him, and he was discouraged. He was discouraged, and there was nothing he could do about it. He was trapped. And it's a terrible thing to see that kind of genius trapped. And he wasn't strong enough to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to be strong to leave all that money. I mean, he was making £2,000 a week in 1966.
Yeah.
What is that now?
No, I know.
What is that? You could have bought 2 houses for that for a week's wages. How hard is it to leave that, And then if you've got the money, but the money means nothing, and then you're unhappy. Terrible thing. And I could talk about him for ages, but he was the only true genius I think I ever met in that business. But there's another side. I'm quite cynical about that. But then you get people like Henry McCullough. Henry McCullough loved show bands. He said he loved them because he said without them he'd never have learned to play all the different types of music that he played. So there's another point of view.
And Van Morrison.
Yes.
Van Morrison recorded Astral Weeks, which was very intense sound.
Yeah.
And then he recorded Moon Dance, which was kind of very jazzy.
Yes.
And then he went totally the other way and went back to the show band sound with his band and street choir. I mean, there's 6 songs in that which are just pure Irish show band. I remember the very first time I saw Van actually was at the Rainbow Theatre in 1973.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there and I was thinking, oh my goodness, he's only gone and formed his own show band. I mean, it was like the big brass sound, it was just so amazing. It was augmented with a string quartet and everything, but it was a beautiful, joyous, hypnotic, great show band sound.
But you managed Van for a while, didn't you?
I did indeed, yes, I did.
And you managed a whole lot of different... tell me some of the people you had contact with or managed or whatever.
I managed Gerry Rafferty. I managed Dex's Midnight Runners. I managed Frupp. I managed Tanita Tickerham.
Yeah.
And I worked with Van for 6 years.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, your book is called The Last Dance, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. It's published on New Island, and it's, as far as I can see, it's not many people have tried this. Not many people have tried this. Now, I tried and failed, but not many people have actually done it. I think possibly you're the man that could be the definitive one. Maybe.
Right.
I hope so. And
so do I.
This is on sale now.
Right. Yes, indeed. Yes. Yeah. And we're just kind of say we're just doing tonight in Mara Felton Library. we're doing a reading and a chat, and then tomorrow night, as part of the Belfast Book Festival, we're doing a night in the Wallabies.
The Wallabies Bookshop,
yes.
Botanic Avenue.
Yes, indeed.
Paul Charles, a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise, Gerry. Thank you very much.
I'm going to play another little track from Billy Brown because you and I share our enthusiasm for him as being one of the most talented people never to become famous.
I would agree 100%.
This is a song, it's called What Colour is God's Skin? I don't know if you heard this or not. And I don't know if it's going to start or not, but I see no reason why it's
a little old from Pasadena.
And that's not it.
Close, the Freshman.
You see, BBC is an unusual organisation. Sometimes it doesn't allow you to play the things you're supposed to play. Here you are.
All right.
Sounds a wee bit dated, doesn't it? But the talent is there.
Yeah,
this is from the 60s.
Yeah.
Usually scared of. That's a truth that, believe me, I'm fully aware of. That's why it seems so unbelievable that I could even be talking to you. Kiss am out of my dip, but I really don't mind it. The minute I see you, my reason is blinded. But is it really so unbelievable that I could try to make it with you? Could I do it? Would I rule it? Would my heart go through it if you didn't make it too? I want you to, but would you feel the way I do? Could it be that I'm putting you too far above me? Is it so unbelievable that you could love me? I guess it is, but I'll have to try to see if I could make it with you.
That was Billy Brown and the Freshman. This isn't.
while Juliet is creeping through the closets of the stars. Romeo is on the run, smoking blue cigars, putting cocoa butter on the cover of the scars. Maggie May and Captain Hook are walking down the aisle. The president saunters in astride a crocodile. The Ayatollah swears he is not a pedophile, and the rights of man don't mean a damn here in the age of style. Hey, hey! Hey, hey, hey! I said, hey! Hey, hey, hey! Cell phones ringing in the pockets of the dead. Cell phones ringing in the pockets of the dead. Cell phones ringing in the pockets of the dead. Cell phones ringing in the pockets of the dead. Hello? Is anybody there?
That's another parcel of noise. Excellent parcel of noise it is. That's from Willie Nile from an album called Streets of New York. That's a song called Cell Phones Ringing in the Pockets of the Dead, a particularly cheerful ditty. Some appreciation for the music played in this programme. When's Gerry back from his tea break? I'm going to throw my radio out the window. That's from Terry in Belfast, obviously referring to Oh Superman. Gerry, do you have to play that song? I'd rather listen to a Viking horn, said Mr. D from Dungannon, a connoisseur of all things Nordic. Well done, Gerry. You just played possibly the worst song I ever heard, my poor ears. A male black Labrador dog has been lost in the Rush Road area yesterday. He is called Zander, Z-A-N-D-E-E-R, or as they say, A-Z-A-N-D-E-E-R. He is overweight and was wearing a blue harness. Now, I tried to read a message the other day, but I got it hopelessly garbled. Can you assist me through your program in re-establishing contact? This is from Carol. Re-establishing contact with the above person. The above person is called a Mr. Ian D. Stewart. In February 1964, Mr. Stewart, Ian, took place in an outward-bound course at Eskdale in Cumbria. Having relocated the diary I kept during the month on the course, I thought it would be interesting after 48 years to try and re-establish contact with the other 7 members of what was called Wilson Patrol. To date, I am in contact with 3 members of Wilson Patrol, one now living in New Zealand. In 1964, Ian's address was 16 Kingsway Park, Belfast 5. Does anyone out there know anything about him? Could they contact him or anything at all? Well, you never know your luck. The number to ring is 08459 555 678 if anybody knows anything about a Mr. Ian D. Stewart, who in 1964 lived in 16 Kingsway Park in Belfast. Also, Nigel writes to me and he said it would be great if you could please wish today my nephew David Colmer all the best as he left Belfast City Hall this morning at 8 a.m. starting his 10-day, 1,000-mile cycle trip around Ireland in aid of his chosen charity, and I'm sure he'll be freezing by the time he comes back. That's the Samaritans. More details of David's trip, including daily video blogs, can be found on his Facebook page, Good Samaritan Quest. Last night, David told me that if he is successful in raising his target, €2,000, he will cycle from Derry Stoke, Londonderry, on his last day, wearing his tiger onesie catsuit. Don't think you see too many tigers up in that part of the world. Let's hope there's no poachers. That's from Uncle Nigel. Well, we wish him all the best, David, and we can't wait to see you in a tiger suit because my weekend hasn't been complete. Here's a little Cajun rock and roll. There's not enough of it about these days.
Mama says, son, you can't hold a job. You better buy a gun and go out and rob. Get yourself a guitar and learn how to play.
That's some Cajun rock and roll from a band called, let me just get this right, C.C. Adcock, C.C.A.D.C.O.C.K, and that's a song called Stealing All Day. If you're interested in those, you can Google them. Gentleman writes to me from Gerry McNeice, who writes from Vienna. He tells me some interesting stuff about demos and things like that, but he says, loved the Laurie Anderson track, Oh Superman, and the Beach Boys sound-alike band is great. Can't believe they're from Northern Ireland. Is it on CD? Referring to that song, that version of Yesterday by a band called The Freshmen. No, none of that is actually on release. I've got a number of tracks here. If anybody would be interested in putting that stuff together, it would be really, really, it'd be great. Anyway.